to welcome everyone to the regular meeting of the Planning Commission for the November 12th. We have did have some agendas available for you if you don't have one. We're going to take each item in turn. Item number 1 will be a roll call.
Anita Pickett.
Present.
Jason Dupree. Anderson Neal.
Present.
Dr. Hickerson.
Here.
Chris Owens.
Here.
Corey Mobbs.
Here.
And Chairman Thomas.
Present. Item number 2 would be adoption of the summarized minutes of the October 7th. Is that right? Yeah, I guess that's right. No, yeah. Last month's meeting. So has everybody had an opportunity to look through those minutes? Is there any adjustments, changes, amendments, or questions?
I move we accept them as presented.
Move
I
for
accept.
adoption. We have
I
a second.
second.
That'll be a voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. All right. Item number 3 would be a rezoning request by Farrell Purefoy Architects, 100 River Bluff Drive, Suite 320, Little Rock, Arkansas, to rezone the rear half of parcel number 001870104 and 4 acres of parcel 00187100 from R1 Rural Residential to C3 Open Display Commercial for the purpose of constructing and operating a business. Property is addressed as 4101 East 58th Street. Property is legally described as partial northeast 1/4, section 1/4 of Township 4, Section 4, Township 15 South, Range 28 West, and 4 acres of Tract 1, parcel number northeast, southeast, north of, that's a mouthful, wow,
That is.
Highway of Miller County, Arkansas, containing 14.4 acres, more or less, and located in Ward 6. Miss Jamie, if you will.
Okay. So this map is terrible. This is the property here. You have one in your packets that's better. This is Northern Hills Church right here. This right here is Bobby Ferguson Park. Four States Fair Parkway is right here. Neely Towing is right here. So it's over on 58th Street access, which is an access road for the interstate. The property right now, the back half of it is zoned residential, front half is zoned commercial. I don't know how that happened, can't answer that. It may have been another lot at one time. So they're wanting to rezone it all commercial. This is actually Huggen Hall. They'll be putting in a business over there. There's water on 58th Street. If you look at their site plan, which Corey was nice enough to pass out, they're going to bring the sewer in from back here. Is that right, Kayla? Yeah, they're going to bring the sewer in from back here. This is the property right now, and this is their site plan. And Kayla is here from MTG to be happy to answer any questions,
Very good.
or I'm happy to answer any questions.
As I recall, you mentioned you wasn't sure why the front half was commercial and the back half not. When we annexed all of that, that was probably part of a parcel that was annexed in 2000, and we put a little commercial corridor along the interstate frontage road there. So that may be why we did. The back half was still residential.
Will it be accessible from the back half, like from
Y'all won't access it. No, they'll access it from 58th Street.
From 58th Street? Okay.
But for anybody wanting to buy that property on the back half, there is a road back
That's what I
there.
thought. I thought there was a road. That's why I was wondering.
So it would be accessible from the rear. All right. We'll hear from the applicant, if you could. We may have some questions.
Good evening, Kayla Wood with MTG Engineers. I think you'll have the site plan that she just had up. This is still a conceptual site plan, and they still don't own all of this land, and so they wanted to make sure they could get it zoned and the utilities in place prior to purchasing that. And so We haven't done design or anything, but sewer would be coming from the street to the east. And I think they're trying to get maybe a utility easement that would bring sewer that way. And so there is an access, there's a street out there. I don't know if we necessarily have access to that, but right now the plan is not to even touch that back part of the property, just to mainly focus on the front.
So the property that you're going to acquire, we'll go all the way back to the street that's back there, McDonald Lane, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. That's an undeveloped roadway as it now stands.
It is, and we haven't done the plat on it yet, but I haven't seen any easements that dedicate it as an access to this property, but it might provide it through prescriptive easements.
Well, at some point, McDonald Lane will extend through there, but we may not still be here.
That's true. And
With
we
that-
might have to, when we plat it, we might have to put right-of-way
Yeah,
dedication
yeah.
for it regardless.
All right. And your C3 requirement is because there'll be outside display of product or merchandise?
There wouldn't be in the back, but there would be in the front of the property, and I think the desire would be to have a continuous zoning when we do plat the property into one lot as opposed to
Okay.
multi-zoning.
Will this be a commercial sales business or just a commercial, like a yard or a location?
You know, I Googled them before I came because we've done a bunch of work for them, but I don't really know exactly what they do.
You said
It looks-
Hug and Haul, right?
Yes, Hug and Haul, so it looks
Okay.
like
Okay, well,
rental
it's Hug and
equipment.
Haul,
Hug
then
and
it's
Haul,
like
like-
a
Yes.
Yeah.
marshaling yard or
Yeah.
a location for their
Right.
equipment, yeah.
So it looks like they would sell and rent equipment vehicle.
I've-
Sure.
We've
Okay.
rented stuff.
Yeah, well, they had a location right next door, so obviously they're expanding.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Any other questions for anyone? For the applicant? All right, so a couple of things. On the boundaries of the commercial to the residential, you're aware that there's a fencing requirement?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. So it'll require a minimum 6-foot opaque fence of some sort?
Yes, sir. Would that need to be at the back property line or just at the back of our development?
Well, it'll need to be anywhere your development touches commercial property.
Okay.
Residential.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. Yes,
Yes, sir,
thank
that
you,
sounds good.
residential. Okay, just so you were aware.
Okay. I
All
would
right,
think
that-
they're going to fence it regardless, and it would just need to be opaque then for screening.
Right. Very good. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, is there anyone here to speak in opposition to this request? All right, having heard none, the chair accepts a motion.
Motion to accept.
Have a motion, need a second?
Second,
Motion and a second, call the roll, please.
Anita Pickett,
yes.
Jason Dupree,
Yes.
Anderson Neal,
Yes.
Dr. Hickerson, Chris Owens,
Yes.
Corey Mobbs,
Yes.
and Chairman Thomas.
Yes. All right, the motion passes. Our recommendation to the City Board of Directors for the November 4th general meeting. December the 3rd, so it's been pushed back.
It's November now.
Very good. Well, this is November the 4th. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm just reading what you wrote down here, Miss Jamie.
We love you.
Okay, so this does have to go before the City Board of Directors for final approval. We just make a recommendation, so there we go. All right. Item number 4 has been suspended, is that correct, Miss Jamie?
Yes.
All right. So we'll move on to item number 5, I'm sorry. A rezoning requested by Bill Duffer, 1804 North State Line, Texarkana, Arkansas, to rezone the property located at 805 and 807 and 815 Laurel from R4 Medium Density Residential to C3 Open Display Commercial for the purpose of constructing an auto shop. Property is legally described as lots 2, 3, 4, 5 of Block 8 of the original city, containing .629 acres more or less, and is located in Ward 2. Miss Jamie, if you would, please.
So Mr. Duffer owns these, wrong way. You can tell yesterday was a holiday. Mr. Duffer owns these 4 lots right here. They're vacant at the moment. He also owns a business right here that is an automotive business. So it's his desire to rezone this for the purpose of building an automotive shop here to complement his business. We've had no opposition to this. The property right now is zoned R4. Well, I'm just having a day here. There is water and sewer, water to the east and sewer to the west of the property. And this is the property now, and Napa Auto, if you know where it is right here.
Right next door.
Yep. Yep. And Mr. Duffer is here.
All right. All right, is there someone here to represent this case? Like to step to the podium, give your name for the record, please?
Yeah, I'm Travis Phoenix. I'm just here representing Bill. He is, it's pretty self-explanatory, I guess, but he's building a shop building to work on vehicles there. And
Okay,
it's not going to be open to the public or anything, it'll just be for their private use for their car lot.
all right. So the property bounding the diagonal street off of State Line and 8th Street with the high opaque fence, that is also Mr. Duffer's?
He does currently own that, yes.
Okay. That's like a storage lot or
That's a
something of
storage
that
lot
sort?
for him. Mhm.
Okay. All right. So this will be a fix-em-up shop?
Pretty much.
All right.
The property right next to it where the little grayed-out house is, would there have to be a opaque fence right there between residential?
He's going to put up a fence anyways on this.
Yeah, there
It'll
would
be
need to be a fence between any commercial and existing residential.
Yeah, he's going to have a fence all the way around it, opaque fence.
Good,
That's in the plans.
very good. All right. Any other questions from anyone? Very good, thank you, sir. Anyone here to speak in opposition to this? Please step forward, give your name.
Brenda Bursey, I own property at 2 houses down from the lots he's indicating. I
Okay.
just have some general questions, concerns about having, what type of business is he having? I didn't get clarification on that. What type of garage?
Well, as I understand it, Mr. Duffer also has a used car business, and he was, my understanding is that this was going to be a repair and fix-it shop for his used automobiles, and I heard him say that they were not going to be open to the public. It was just for private use only, for his business support. So
What type of structure is he going to have? Just and what size? Has a plan been submitted for the building plans? Is it going to occupy that whole 3 or 4 lots?
we don't have that information before us.
So he hadn't submitted a building plan?
No, the plan before us is just for a simple rezone.
All right. I would be concerned about what entrance, is he going to have his entrance to the business from Laurel Street, or is he going to have it from 8th Street?
Well, I'm not sure. We might
Because the
get-
residential side is on Laurel,
Okay,
and that's where the residential houses are.
all right.
And so my concern is the traffic coming in from which side?
Oh, I understand, okay.
And you've indicated already a fence is required.
Yes, an opaque fence of at least 6 foot tall would be required.
Okay. What is the time frame of him putting up this business?
That we don't know either.
We don't know either. Okay. Well, my concern is whether this business is going to, and once you set these perimeters for that to be, all I can see is a bunch of cars sitting out on the lots
Mhm.
next to these residentials.
Ma'am,
I understand.
My understanding is there won't be that because it's going to be used just as an inside shop to fix up the cars as part of his used car lot. It's not going to be like me and
So
you
now,
driving
you're
up to
saying
get a
cars
car
not gonna
fixed.
be on the outside of a garage?
Ma'am,
You're saying cars are not gonna be on the outside of a garage?
that's what my understanding was, it's going to be an inside fix-up shop, and I don't know about the entrance from Laurel.
We don't know that, but we could get them to address these issues for you.
Okay,
What other questions?
that's it.
All right, so you're concerned about the type of building, you're concerned about the entrance to the building, and you're concerned about the storage of the automobile?
Yes.
Okay. Could you address these issues?
Yeah, so there's actually a lot in between his property and, what is that, 8th Street there? So he can't have access off that. It will have to be off Laurel Street there. But keep in mind, there is going to be a fence, opaque fence all the way around this property, so she's not going to have, a bunch of cars that she sees from the front of her property all be hidden behind fences.
Okay, so all your cars, even the entrance into the facility will be off of Laurel Street through a
Yes.
gate?
Yes, there will be a fence with a gate to get into the lot there.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. What type of building do you plan to build?
We're looking at a metal building,
Okay.
and we're not 100% sure on the size and everything yet, but something with, 3 or 4 bays probably, and maybe a small office in it.
All right, very good. And our other question was, where will your cars be stored?
Inside the opaque fence.
Inside the opaque fence. Okay. Ma'am, did you have any other questions? Or did that answer your concerns?
This is for, once that's established as commercial, and then you said C3,
Yes, ma'am.
open display,
Yes.
which means what?
Well, open display means that there can be outside storage of product or, in this case, automobiles, but they will be behind a fence, as he stated. Think of an open display commercial as a used car lot or a new car dealership where the automobiles are
Yeah.
stored out front, or a tractor dealership, something like that, as opposed to a general commercial where all of the stuff that is for sale or for use is all inside of a building.
Okay,
So
so
that
he
there's
has
the two
indicated
differences.
that all of his gonna be inside.
Well, with open display, he can just store his automobiles outside, but as he said, they'd be behind an opaque fence. So they won't be visible from the street.
But
As I understood.
But as C3 display, he has the ability to do that, since that's what that means.
Yes.
Will this affect the future property on down Laurel Street? Is that just stopping right there as far as the property, the rest of it is residential? I don't know where,
I drove it today, and there's that little gray square is a cream-colored abandoned home, and then the next,
yeah, I know,
Black colored.
because we have a historical building,
two houses down.
two
Yeah,
houses
that's
down,
the
we have
historical building. It's
building.
beautiful.
So what my concern is about that too, because we're planning on some residential homes being built in there, and we don't want a bunch of cars and
Sure,
sitting
sure.
around.
Understood.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I just thought I would clarify that the plan is to fence in as much of the property as possible, so we'll put the fence as close to the property line as possible to enclose as much as we can.
Very good.
I think that'll help overcome some
Well,
of
it'll be
our
aesthetic
objections.
and security as well.
That's the idea, is for security.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from anyone?
Well, let me interject something also. Now, I'm not exactly sure how the planning and approval goes.
Would you state your
Sure.
name for the record, please?
I'm sorry, my name is Celestine Thornton, and I have property on that street also.
Okay.
Once you rezone, do you rezone before he gives you more detailed plans about what he intends to build, so that we don't have a change of plan once we rezone, once you give him consent to rezone, and he goes in with what he has presented tonight. Do you have something more detailed that you get before you rezone?
Well, yes, he'll have to submit a construction plan to the city for building permits, and at that time, the city staff can review those plans for their appropriateness and ascertain that everything's going to be as it was said to begin
Okay.
with.
So
So, yeah, you'll have to have a building permit before you can even turn a shovel of dirt,
Right.
so.
So being that you've had someone to offer their concerns tonight about what should be built, based upon that, then you know what her concerns are, and you will sort of see that he meets those requirements, or we have a chance to state some objections at a later time, or is it done deal?
Well, to answer your question very frankly, it's simply this. If that property is rezoned C3, then there's a certain allowed group of uses that can be done on that property, okay? Should Mr. Duffer decide after he gets the property rezoned that somebody comes along and offers him more money than it's worth, and he decides to sell, and they want to do another use than his, then they will be within their rights to do so under the C3 zone allowables. So there, to answer your question, if there's going to be hard and fast guarantees that everything's going to go down as it was stated, there is none, except to say that if Mr. Duffer carries forward with his original plans, he will be required to present a plan to the city for the building permit, and then at that time, that can be reviewed. But once it's rezoned C3, then it is C3, and it's applicable to all the list of uses that C3 would allow.
Okay, does that?
So there are some other C3s within the neighborhood. The Kemp Brothers have their body shop across the street, as you know.
Across the street.
And then Napa has their business next door, and,
Gentleman's Funeral Home probably on
right,
that street.
right, so-
But all of that street is vacant properties or residential properties. Does that have an effect on property value when he zones?
well, it shouldn't if it's all done correctly, and I do understand your concerns. But 8th Street is what's considered as a major arterial street, and so it's conducive to commercial usage. What you're living in is a mixed-use neighborhood. There is residentials as well as commercials mixed together in your neighborhood, as you know. So as a mixed-use commercial, the city attempts to try to not impact your property in a minimum way, so we try to guard your residential use, of course. You lived there before some of the businesses showed up, and so you deserve some protections. But we'd be remiss if we didn't try to develop some commercial uses along 8th Street, because that's what it would be good for. So I hope that answered your question.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir. State your name for the record, please.
Good evening, Ray Bursey. Okay, what my wife basically asked, okay, he owns property on 18th and State Line. And apparently that was commercial property at first. But now, on 18th to 17th, there's cars on State Line to Laurel.
Okay.
Okay, why the shop can't be built there? Wasn't that zone C3?
Building
The
the shop
property
off-
on State Line, 18th to 17th.
Okay.
The backside is Laurel. Okay, that property was residential at first. Was that zone C3? 18th and State Line.
Gotcha.
It runs almost bumps 17.
Well,
Okay, basically what I'm asking is that can you get the building plans on what specifically is going to be built there, and we table this, and then we relook at it? Because I'm giving you an example of why. The 18th to 17th had to have been C3, because now it's cars parked from State Line to Laurel
okay.
in about 10 deep rows. So I'm asking to table it until we see plans, until you all have plans, and have another meeting specifically showing what is going to be built there.
Okay, I get your question now.
Okay?
Well, the question before this panel is a simple question of rezone.
Right.
The intended property use is not before us now. The intended property use was stated by the owner of the property. It's his right as the owner of the property to do with what he wishes to do with it.
But he's telling you he's going to build a facility there, correct?
As I understood it, yes, sir.
Okay. Can we know the facility first that's going to be there?
No, we do not at this point. We know what he's
I'm
told
asking,
us.
can we see the facility first? And then we readdress this?
Well, that's not a requirement for rezoning.
Okay.
Now, our word, let me put you at ease. Our word's not the final word here. We're making a recommendation to
Okay.
the city board of directors, and they get the final word as to the rezone. Now, we're looking at the property, and we're dealing with land use.
Right.
And that's our legal responsibility to deal with the highest and best use of the property as it now sits.
Okay.
And so the request for C3 is an appropriate use in that mixed-use zone, given its proximity to 8th Street. So he's come to us with his request for the rezone, and he's told us what he wishes to do with it. But the thing that's most important to us is this piece of property appropriate for the rezone, and is it appropriate at that location? That's really our primary consideration. And so I don't think it'd be prudent for us to table the issue because we couldn't learn any more about it. If we don't have the right to request him to send us a drawing at this point, because this is not like a subdivision where we get a plat. This is just a single lot. And he's just asking for a simple rezone, so.
So we can't readdress this?
I'm sorry.
We would have to readdress this would be with the city board.
Correct,
That's what you're
correct.
saying? Okay, now, I would like for you, before you present it to the city board, go back and look at 18th to 17th, see if that was zoned C3. And
Well,
then make a comparison. Was a facilities supposed to be built there?
Well, I think 18th and State Line, the property that you're talking about behind the opaque fence where the automobiles are now located?
No,
No,
they're out. They're visible.
oh, well, I don't have a map, so, Miss Jamie, do you have a map?
And I'm trying to.
Are you speaking of those vehicles right next to the pawn shop?
Correct. Across the street. That whole block,
Huh?
that block right there.
It is C3?
Okay, what was the purpose of that? I mean, what were they asking to do with that C3?
It's been that way probably for a while.
Yep.
Wasn't done in the last 5 years, I know.
No, that zone's been pre-existing.
As I understand from Mr. Duff, what he's trying to do is build a shop up there. All those cars that are there will go up here to the shop. They won't be on that.
Okay, what I'm asking them, when they gave the C3 permit, commercial permit, did they use it as they presented it?
Well, you're asking...
I mean, it's granted, this is granted. This is granted. What we're speaking on tonight is not granted yet. This is granted. Did they use it to the grant that you gave them for that C3? That's
Well-
what I'm at, that's the only thing I'm asking.
Well, what I'm going to tell you about that is that land has been C3 for a long time, and you're asking us to do something that we don't have the authority to do.
You granted it.
Somebody did.
You
The city
you
did at some
recommended that
point.
it be granted. So I'm asking you, what was your recommendation on that? And what was the requirement in that C3?
Well, right now, I don't know when that,
Recommendation you made.
I don't know when that property was zoned C3.
You should have it on record.
I don't have the record before me, sir. I don't have that record. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, we're not trying to frustrate you, but you're asking us to do something we don't have the authority tonight to do, and it's not the question that we're being asked to vote on.
So if I
Thank you.
may say, that street is residential, and so I just would like to go on record tonight. I'm Celestine Thornton as objecting to the rezoning of this property.
I understand. Thank you very much.
So you can't come up with me any other kind of information. So at this point, I'm gonna go against it.
I don't have that information, sir. I'm sorry.
That's why I wanted you to table, I wanted you to look at other things that have been occurring, that has occurred.
All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more question. I know we're going around this in meeting, but there are some residents on that street. Did they all get letters? They
Everybody within 300 feet
got a letter.
That's what we're required by state.
I would suspect so. I got a letter. But someone who actually lives on that street said they did. Now, I don't know if that's true or not.
Letters go to the property owner, so if they rent the property, the letter gets to the property owner.
Okay, perhaps that's the case.
Yeah, there was 33 letters sent.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Is there any other comment, for or against?
Let me just make this statement.
State your name for the record, please,
Brenda
ma'am.
Bursey. We know of businesses that grandfathered in, I guess, as saying you, in the past, you have made recommendations or passed zoning, and once they're in, and the businesses end up not being what they indicated to be. And then the residents doesn't have a redress at that point because it's done, it's a done deal. I'm thinking about the problems that Iron Mountain had with the iron factory over there with pollution. And
Right.
because it's been grandfathered in, it's nothing they can do about it. So that's what we want. We don't want something to come in there that's going to interfere with a residential area. That's our concern, and it's nothing we can do about it after it's done.
I understand.
All right, thank you. And Brenda Bursey objects.
Thank you very much. So just to clarify, the purpose of this panel, the Planning and Zoning Commission, is to look at the land uses of property within Texarkana, Arkansas, and to determine the highest and best use of the property for the benefit of the city and its residences. We have a duty to watch and care over the residential zones to prevent them from being unduly and negatively impacted. We have a duty also to promote commercial use for the benefit of the city as much as is practically possible. We do not, and the city does not, develop land. The city does not indicate that this piece of property needs to be this or that, and then invite somebody to come and indicate, to do something with it. Every parcel of property within the city has a zoning designation. When those properties change hands, when the city grows and moves and uses move around town, those properties, and we have rezoned some commercial lands back to residentials, to answer your question. But it takes someone to purchase that property, to approach the city and ask for a request for a rezoning. And then we look at that rezoning to see if it is appropriate use of that property at that location, if it impacts negative, if it does not negatively impact the current land uses that are surrounding it, and if it would be an asset or benefit to the city. So we have a long-range development plan that we've adopted, and we try to follow those plans as much as appropriate. But our job is to ascertain whether a piece of property has an appropriate use at its appropriate location. So that's, in a nutshell, that's what we do. So, having heard the comments for and against, is there any other discussion or questions from the board? Anyone? All right. The question before us is to rezone this piece of property to a C3 zone from a residential zone, a medium-density residential zone. So the chair accepts the motion.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. I need a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call roll, please.
Anita Pickett,
No.
Jason Dupree,
Yes.
Anderson Neal,
Yes.
Dr. Hickerson.
Yes.
Chris Owens,
No.
Corey Mobbs,
Yes.
and Chairman Thomas.
Yes. Motion carries. Now our recommendation will go forward to the City Board of Directors for final review, December, what was it, Jamie? December 3rd. So if you have further interest in this, please attend the City Board of Directors meeting. Very good. Thank you all for your patience. Next item of business would be item number 6, a rezoning request by Carolyn Winfield, 5813 Mount Olive Drive, Texarkana, Arkansas, to rezone the property located at 5813 Mount Olive Drive from C4 Crossroads Business Park to R2 Single Family Residential for the purpose of enlarging an existing non-conforming residence. Property is legally described as parcel east half, northwest, southwest 50-foot by 150-foot, and partial lot 13 east half, northwest, southwest of section 05, township 15, range 28 of Miller County, Arkansas, containing 1/2 acre more or less, and is located in Ward 6. Ms. Jamie?
So this is the property here. It's on Mount Olive. This right up here is the property that we just did a PUD for, or tried to do one for Donnie Seeley, right up here. Mount Olive Baptist Church is right here, and this is that new subdivision that's in the process of being developed over there. McDonald is right up here. It's zone C4. As you know, everything in C4 with all this along here is residential right now, and everything across the street is residential. So we're asking to rezone it to R2. There is water and sewer, and here's the situation with this piece of property. This house was built there in 1988, and it was a non-conforming structure because it's residential in a C4 zone.
Right.
They want to add on to the house. So in order to do that, we have to rezone it because you can't increase the footprint on a non-conforming structure.
Correct.
So that's the purpose of this rezone request.
Very good.
And Ms. Winfield is here.
Ms. Winfield?
Hello, I'm Sherelle Winfield, 5813 Mount Olive Drive, on behalf of Carolyn Winfield, my mom.
Very good.
We would like to rezone Mount Olive Drive from commercial to residential because Mount Olive was once North Jefferson, and the street was changed 10 years ago to Mount Olive Drive. We
Right.
go to church at Mount Olive Missionary Baptist Church, and about 5 years ago, we got a new church home. We live right next door to the church, and we still live in the community. And my dad passed away in 2003, and so I'm going to be moving in with my mom, and we want to make some changes to the house.
Very good.
And on the property, my dad did add to the house, so one section is on pier and beam, and the other section is on a slab, and we see shifting in foundation, cracks in the wall, and things we can't keep up with right now because my dad took care of it.
Got it.
And we're on septic tank. We want to get connected to city water. And we had to talk to the city about that and see how we can go about getting connected to city water. And we want to update our home for my mom and me.
Very good.
Thank you.
So you're not adding any property, you're just, you're keeping the same real
No,
estate?
we wanted to know, could we tear the house down and redo it, but it's going to be bigger than the existing home?
Well, not at its current zoning, but if it was
Okay.
rezoned, then you'd have every right
Yes,
to
sir.
do so,
Okay,
yes.
yes, we'd like to rezone, so we can.
Okay,
And we got a survey on our land.
Okay.
And we got our property line, so we're gonna move our house back and over a little, because right now it's like exactly on the line,
got it.
and we want to make more room.
Very good, okay. Any questions for Ms. Winfield, anyone?
That was going to be my question. How do you add on, but you're
Yeah, really.
going to start over?
You knock it down and start over, that's a
Down and
good
start
add-on.
over? Okay.
Very good. All right, thank
I
you.
got one.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Can you give us some of that energy you got?
No, keep it in. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
A little history here for those of you that won't remember. The C4 zone runs down the middle of Mount Olive Drive, the boundary, I think, in the TIF district. And when C4 zone was advocated for that block of property that's quite big, goes all the way over to State Line, back to Jefferson, forward to the interstate. The back half of Mount Olive, the homes that are on that side were left residential. The front half was declared C4, which made all of those homes, including the big house behind the gate fence, non-conforming structures. So any other property within the C4 that has to be developed, if it's on vacant land, has to be, we prefer developed as a PUD. This won't be required because it's not a new development, it's an existing development. So the rezoning would set straight the non-conforming issue and make that go away. And it still would be part of the TIF district, it just would not be part of the C4 zone. If there were any questions there, okay. Anyone here to speak in opposition to this? Any other questions from the members of the board? Chair accepts a motion.
Motion to accept.
Second. Motion and a second. Call the roll.
Anita Pickett,
Yes.
Jason Dupree,
Yes.
Anderson Neal,
Yes.
Dr. Hickerson, Chris Owens,
Yes.
Corey Mobbs,
Yes.
and Chairman Thomas.
Yes. So there you go. All you got to do now is get permits and spend lots of money. It's got to go before the board on December the 3rd to be final approval. So don't start spending your money just yet. All right, item number 7, ordinance revision. Resolve contradictions between the definition of loft apartment and the use by right and conditional uses listed in the use matrix.
So this is the one last month that I had one thing and Roger brought something else up here, and come to find out, both of us were right. We just, neither one of us looked in both places. So by definition, by our definition, a loft apartment could only exist in the C2 Central Business District. But when you go down to our use matrix, we allow it in O1, C1, C4, and C4 overlay. So we either need to fix this, or we need to take this out of here.
I think we had an issue years ago that probably brought this about, was that we revised an ordinance, and I couldn't tell you the time frame. It was in the early part of the 2000s, to allow residential apartments in commercial buildings, and so that kind of became loft apartment thing, and I think that's probably why you're seeing it in these other commercial uses.
So do we want to take Central Business District out of the definition?
Now, what's O1?
Office quiet.
Thank you.
So if you took Central Business District out of that definition, then you would make it applicable to these other commercial districts, and not
Right, we
just,
would go by the matrix.
yeah, that would be a contradiction, so.
Because it's already in all the matrix for all the other places.
So our question is twofold. Do we want to amend the wording, C2 Central Business District, take that out of there, and allow it in commercial uses as designated by the commercial district matrix? And do we want to keep the commercial district matrix as stated, knowing that the X's are use by right and the CU is conditional use permit? So that's our question. Any discussion about that?
Yes, to amending the definition to take it out, the C2 out of the definition.
Okay. Are you comfortable with the designations in the matrix?
What's C2?
C2 is
Downtown.
downtown, the old downtown. And that was a use by right that we did in order to stimulate growth downtown.
Oh, okay.
And it's been very successful. Town's filled up with feet.
That's good. So by taking,
That's not a conditional use in C3.
Do not know that. That was,
Well, under definitions, section 28, 142 definitions, we could leave the definition in there. You would just change the wording from central business district to make it just principally commercial. Is that correct, Ms. Jamie? How would you change that wording? Under definitions, it implies that only C2 Central Business District will allow loft apartments.
I would put for commercial or office purposes as defined in section 2822.
I like
Very
that.
good,
We like that.
yeah. And then that includes the matrix. So, all right, everybody's happy with the matrix? All right, so
We need to vote on that because it's an ordinance change.
it is yes, it is. Okay, so this would be, go before the city board of directors. All right, so we want to change the wording in the definitions to designate it to Section 2822, and then we want to keep the designations in Section 2822 as written. So the chair accepts a motion for yes or no.
Motion to accept that.
Need a second?
Second?
Call roll, please.
Anita Pickett,
Yes.
Jason Dupree,
Yes.
Anderson Neal,
Yes.
Dr. Hickerson,
Yes.
Chris Owens,
Yes.
Corey Mobbs,
Yes.
and Chairman Thomas.
Yes. Motion carries, and that also will go before the City Board of Directors for final approval. All right, item number 8, Care Facilities and Group Home Ordinance Review and Adoption. Ms. Jamie?
So this is the same ordinance that I presented last week. As you know, we didn't have an ordinance pertaining to family care facilities, group care facilities, or group homes. So we have created one. There were a couple of questions that were asked last time that we have run by both our municipal league attorney and our city attorney. We cannot prohibit them from being on a local street.
Okay.
That was one of the questions. We cannot prohibit them from being located on a local street. Our streets all have classifications, and the question was asked if we could prohibit it in a R1 zone, and we cannot by law do that. Because that would be, we would be treating them differently than we treated other people.
Okay.
So as you remember, this is the ordinance that we drew up in the workshop based on Little Rock's ordinance, which basically creates a special use permit. And the difference in that and a conditional use is a conditional use permit goes with the land. So if you get a conditional use permit to raise horses and you sell your land, the person that bought it can raise horses. A special use permit does not transfer. It is for that piece of property, for the person that we gave it to, for the use that it was given.
Right.
So that's the difference between the two.
Got it.
And we have had this reviewed by both our municipal league attorney and our city attorney, and they're both good with it.
Okay. So, I'm seeing here, special use permits required under R1, R2, R3, RM, and a use by right under R4. Am I seeing that correctly?
That was what we discussed, but if
Okay.
you guys want to...
So the special use permit for family care facilities, group homes, or group care facilities would all have to come before this panel as well as the City Board of Directors for final approval,
With the exception of R4,
with the exception of R4.
yes.
And to your point, the question was, that I proposed, could we eliminate or not allow in R1, and your answer to that is legally we cannot?
We cannot.
Okay. Very good. All right. So the question before us tonight, we discussed it, and you wish us to vote yes or no on this ordinance?
Yes, and
And
it'll-
then
to go to
pass-
the board.
Pass it forward to the board?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm sorry, yes, sir.
Everyone had an opportunity to read through this, and do you have any questions, or perhaps changes or additions, or subtractions? Anyone? And this is a new ordinance, because prior to this, the city did not have any ordinance governing these land uses. So this is all new. And any questions, comments? Want to talk about it, anyone? Okay. All right, having ended that discussion, Chair accepts a motion to accept or deny.
do accept the new ordinance.
We have a motion, we have a second? Did we get a second?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Call roll, please.
Anita Pickett,
Yes.
Jason Dupree,
Yes.
Anderson Neal,
Yes.
Dr. Hickerson, Chris Owens,
Yes.
Corey Mobbs,
Yes.
and Chairman Thomas.
Yes. Very good. All right. Item number 9, staff comments. Ms. Jamie, any comments? You have no comments. Item number 10, our next meeting would be December 10th, 2024. Any other new news or old news we need to discuss? Anyone? Very good. Now, in the staff comments, going back to item number 4, the rezoning for the McDonald Lane, once again, could you tell us why that was pulled?
Utilities.
The utilities are not installed.
Okay, just so we have that as I understand. All right. So that's a C4, I'm sorry, a PUD, and all of the details were not on the plat. And I didn't see them either, so I was going to question that. Very good. All right. Next item is adjournment. If there's no further business, Chair accepts the motion.
So moved.
So moved. Motion and a second voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you.